YouTube traffic, this is 345 Delta Foxtrot, ready to record another YouTube video. YouTube traffic. This is my disclaimer, same as previously. Please take a few seconds to check it over. Okay, today's topic is Primer for Aluminum Corrosion Prevention, Part 2. In Part 1, we looked at 12 different pie pans with different pretreatments before the primer was applied. The first 6 had a one-step pretreatment, and the last 6 had a two-step pretreatment. And this is part 2, and in part 2 we're going to look at the results after the primer was applied. Okay, this was the basic idea for a two-step surface pretreatment. Step 1 is a cleaner degreaser to remove organics, dirt, fingerprints, Sharpie marks, oil, grease, etc. And step 2 is something likely acidic to remove the aluminum oxide and to perhaps roughen the surface a little bit for improving the adhesion of the primer to the aluminum surface. Okay, for the first 6 pie pans, that was a one-step surface pretreatment only, and these were the results from worst to best, and the best was a cleaner degreaser called Super Clean, and it also changed the surface of the aluminum a little bit. Changed it from hydrophobic to hydrophilic, basically. And these are the results of two-step pretreatment, where the first step was always Super Clean. And the best results were, it was kind of a three-way tie. It was Super Clean followed by either CLR or EkoEtch, and the EkoEtch was either with or without a scrub. Okay, now it's time to spray some primer on these pie pans. So what are we going to use? Well, you don't have to use primer at all. You can just use the aluminum as it comes from vans, and the skins from vans are a 2024-T3 alloy, and you can go back and watch my video on aluminum alloys to learn more about that. And the skins have a thin layer of cladding of pure aluminum, and the pure aluminum has much better corrosion resistance than the 2024 alloy. I would say its primary problem is the fact that it is very thin. I think it is probably very easy to scratch, and I'm not sure really how trustworthy it is in terms of corrosion protection. Let's see, in terms of primers, some people just try a spray primer, a can. Usually, people recommend an etching primer. so that it etches the surface a little bit and you get better adhesion. Now, I believe that these etching primers were basically designed for steel, and how good of a job they do with aluminum, I don't know. I would highly recommend you do some experiments and make sure that you're getting good adhesion of whatever primer you're using. One of the problems with spray can primers is that it gets to be pretty expensive. One can doesn't really go all that far. So you end up buying cases of spray primer. And from watching YouTube videos of what other people have done, my impression is that a lot of them give up because of the expense and the fact that it's just kind of a pain in the neck. Okay, then in terms of spray primers, some of the best ones are the epoxy primers, and one of them that is pretty common is the Akzo Nobel epoxy primer. And it's an aircraft primer. It's pretty expensive. It's a couple $100 a gallon. And it's also fairly noxious. Make sure you wear a respirator if you try using it. Stewart Systems has an epoxy primer, which is, most of their stuff is water-based. Don't know too much about the actual composition of their EkoPoxy. But these epoxy primers, both of these are specifically designed to provide corrosion resistance. One problem with them is they're two-part primers, and you mix them up, and if you have any left over after you've sprayed whatever you need to spray, you can't reuse it. It just goes in the trash. So you have to make a guess as to how much you're going to need, and if you guess too little, it's definitely going to be a pain because you got to mix up some more. And if you guess too much, like I said, it just ends up in the trash. Then cleanup is a little bit more difficult with these epoxy primers. And as I mentioned, they can be somewhat noxious. Stewart Systems makes a water-based primer called EkoPrime, and it was specifically designed for providing corrosion resistance on aircraft. And so hopefully it does. I don't know exactly how much testing has been done on its corrosion resistance. It is a single part primer, and which is very nice in that any unused primer it is used full strength, or can be used full strength. I think it can be diluted down about 10%, but you can just take any unused primer and pour it back in the can. And it's water-based, so cleanup is fairly easy. And so this is what I decided to use. I picked it because of the convenience and ease of use, as well as the fact that it was designed as an aircraft corrosion-resistant primer. So hopefully it does a good job. If you just go with the Stewart Systems ecosystem, you use their EkoEtch surface pretreatment, and followed by either their EkoPrime or their EkoPoxy, and I chose the EkoPrime. I think I've already gone over the rest of this. This is a table on the Stewart Systems website comparing the EkoPrime to the EkoPoxy. The EkoPoxy has the best corrosion protection, but the EkoPrime is listed as very good, so I'm hoping that very good is good enough. One weak point of the EkoPrime is solvent resistance. So you do not want to use EkoPrime on the outside of your airplane, in particular on the wing near where you add fuel. The advantages of the EkoPrime over the EkoPoxy are that it's single part, it's easier to use, it's a little bit more cost effective because you can pour unused primer back in the can, and it has a little bit better flexibility, which is not really a concern for an aluminum airframe. I think that's more for the cloth airframes. And for all the other properties on the table, I believe they're basically the same. Okay, in part one, I described how we took 12 different pipe pans, we messed them up, and we cleaned them in various different ways. So please go back and watch part one if you haven't already seen it. Otherwise, you're going to have trouble making sense out of part two here. So we spray them with primer, and then how do we tell how good a job the primer did? How good the adhesion is in particular. So the first thing to do is just try scratching it with your fingernail and see if you can scratch it off. Then I tried drilling some holes in it and dimpled the holes to see if it peeled off near where it was drilled or dimpled. Then I sawed off the bottom third of each pipe pan with a bandsaw and looked for any chipping along where to see if the saw caused it to chip near the cut. And then I took a nail and scratched an X in the pipe pan, and then I put a piece of duct tape over the X that I had scratched, and then I peeled the duct tape off to see if the duct tape peeled off any of the primer just in general, or in particular near where I had scratched it with a nail. Okay, so the first 6 pipe pans are with just a one-step clean, which is basically some sort of cleaner degreaser step. And this one had been cleaned with just isopropyl alcohol, and the isopropyl did a great job of removing the Sharpie marks. You can't see any Sharpie marks here. Well, you can see the 6. This was pipe pan number 6, and it was written on the side, but the sides of the pan did not get cleaned. So that's okay. You can see that the holes came out fine along where the pan was sawed. It's fine. In terms of fingernail scratches, there's basically no scratch marks or very minor fingernail scratching. You can see in the top third of the pipe pan here, you can see the indentation where I scratched it with the nail and an X. And then you can see where the piece of duct tape ran horizontally over that X. And when I pulled the duct tape off, as you can see, a lot of the primer came with it. So this pan did not do well. Okay, this pan was cleaned with Mr. Clean, and it's doing a little bit better, in particular in terms of the X and the duct tape. You can see off on the right side there are some fingernail scratches, so that's not good. The saw marks and the holes came out basically okay. Okay, this one was cleaned with soap and water, and the soap and water did not attack the Sharpie marks at all, and you can easily see the Sharpie marks through the primer here. A little bit better on the left side than on the right side. You can see the 3 tic-tac-toe boards. The saw mark is just fine. The holes with the dimples is just fine. The X scratched with the nail and the duct tape is better than the previous two, but you can definitely see how the duct tape pulled up some of the primer near where it was scratched. Okay, this was cleaned with Clorox cleanup, and so it's definitely better in terms of the Sharpie marks. The holes are okay, and the dimples are okay. The saw marks are just fine. The X with the nail and the duct tape are better than some, but not nearly as good as they could be. Still pretty bad. Okay, this one was cleaned with Formula 409, and things are definitely improving. There's no Sharpie marks visible. Holes and nipples are okay. The cut with the bandsaw is okay. You can definitely see some aluminum peeling up after it was scratched with a nail, and the duct tape is clearly pulling up aluminum in the places where the masking tape was originally. So there's clearly some masking tape residue left on this sample, and caused a problem with the primer adhesion. Okay, this was cleaned with Super Clean, and it is by far and away the best. It did a pretty good job. There's no Sharpie marks visible. It removed the Sharpie marks quite well. There's the holes with the dimples look just fine. Where it was cut with the bandsaw looks just fine. You can see just a little bit of peeling of the primer near where the X was and the duct tape was, and where the masking tape was running vertically. There's a little bit of masking tape residue left on this pie pan. But it did very well compared to most of the others. Okay, here's how the first 6 pans came out from worst to best, and Super Clean was definitely the best. And it was also before we applied the primer, the visual appearance was definitely the best. So it's consistent. Okay, now we go on to the 2-step cleans. And in all cases, the first step is going to be super clean, followed by something else. And so this is super clean followed by a 3-minute soak in white vinegar. And things are starting to get better. Things are looking pretty good. The only real problems are a little peeling where the masking tape residue was, and where the duct tape was, where the duct tape peeled it off. You can see some little vertical marks there where the primer peeled off a little bit. Okay, this is super clean followed by a 3-minute soak in acetone, and now things are starting to look pretty good. You have to look pretty closely to see any problems at all now, and I'm not sure that they're really showing up that well in this photograph. We'll see the results on the summary at the end. This is super clean followed by isopropyl, a 3-minute soak in isopropyl alcohol. And you can see just a tiny bit of primer peeling off where the nail scratched it, and then the duct tape pulled on it. A lot of the other marks on the top part of this pan, they're not actually the primer pulling off. This is actually duct tape residue. This is just sticky stuff left over from the duct tape, and it's sitting on top of the primer. So it's not actually a problem. Okay, this is super clean followed by the EkoEtch soak, 3-minute soak. And it looks very good. Again, most of the marks that you see up here on the top part of the pan are residue left over from the duct tape, and they're not actually peeling of the primer. So I would rate this as very good. This is similar to the previous one. It's super clean followed by 3 minutes of EkoEtch. In this case, the EkoEtch was scrubbed a little bit. And again, any marks that you see up here on the top part of the pan are residue from the duct tape and not actually peeling of the primer. So again, this is an excellent result. And this last one is super clean, followed by a 3-minute soak in CLR. And again, everything is excellent. The marks up here on the top of the pan are just residue from the duct tape. And you can see when I pulled off the duct tape, there was some denting of the pan, and there's no, the primer did just fine. Okay, here's a summary of the two-step pretreatments. They're listed from worst to best. White vinegar was the worst, acetone, and isopropyl. It was basically a three-way tie for the best results. All were excellent. They were all super clean, followed by either CLR or EkoEtch. And this is the winner. So step 1, super clean. Step 2, either CLR or EkoEtch. And that's it for part 2. If you would like to recommend these videos to other people, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, or leave a comment. And that will tell the YouTube algorithm to recommend these videos to other people. In terms of comments, this video is a little bit different. It describes a set of experiments as opposed to just talking about how to build an RV10, follow directions, that kind of thing, or more about the aluminum alloys and general topics like that. So if you like this type of video, please leave a comment. And I apologize for the fact that it was divided into 2 parts. However, I thought one part would just be too long, and so I divided it up into 2 parts. I could cut out a few seconds here and there, but I'm not sure how I could have really made it much shorter. But if you have any suggestions, please leave a comment. So that's it for part 2. Thanks for watching.